Hello there. Let's have a real, raw conversation about a feeling I know you've had. A feeling that can ruin an hour, a day, or even linger for weeks. I want you to cast your mind back to the last time it happened. Maybe it was just today. You're in a conversation. You offer an idea born from your own experience and intellect, and you're met with nothing. A blank stare, a dismissive wave. Or maybe it was that direct, cutting remark from a superior, expertly crafted to put you in your place while maintaining just enough plausible deniability. Or perhaps it was that friend or family member whose constant, subtle digs and just jokes have worn a groove in your psyche, making you feel like you can't call them out without looking like the one who's causing a scene. You know this feeling, don't you? It's a specific, unique kind of pain. It's not just anger. It's a cocktail of emotions. That immediate, hot rush of blood to your face, the flush of shame and rage intertwined, the sudden tightening in your chest, like a cold fist clenching round your heart, the sinking sensation in the pit of your stomach that feels an awful lot like your very worth is draining away. It's a physical reaction, a primal alarm bell ringing from a part of your brain that's screaming, threat, social threat. And then, the real torture begins. The replay. You're driving home, and suddenly you're not in the car anymore. You're back in that room, delivering the perfect, scathing retort that silences the room and leaves them in awe of your wit. You're in the shower, and the water can't wash away the sound of their voice or the image of their smug expression. You're lying in bed at 2 a.m., and your mind is a theater of regret and revenge. This exhausting cycle of overthinking is more than just annoying. It's a silent thief. It steals your time, your focus, and your precious mental energy. It's a direct, sustained assault on your inner peace and a fast track to chronic stress and emotional exhaustion. It's the absolute enemy of mental clarity. But what if you could disarm that alarm? What if you could shut that cycle down? Not by winning every argument, but by becoming immune to the need to. What if I told you that the sting of disrespect could be transformed from a poison that weakens you into a vaccine that actually makes you stronger, more resilient, and more centered? Today, we're diving deep into the ancient, battle-tested, and profoundly practical wisdom of Stoic philosophy to build your personalized, unbreakable guide on how to deal with disrespect. This isn't about learning clever comebacks or manipulative tactics. This is about a fundamental rewiring of your perception, a journey toward unshakable resilience that starts from within. This is about confidence building that isn't reliant on external validation, but on an ironclad sense of self. The story, the battlefield, a personal crucible, revisited. Let me paint you a more detailed picture from my own life. A time when I felt this sting so acutely it threatened to define me. I was in a high-stakes project review, presenting a comprehensive strategy I had spent months developing, a project that was my brainchild. The air in the conference room was thick with a palpable tension. Across the polished mahogany table sat a man. Let's call him David, a senior figure known not for his brilliance, but for his mastery of intellectual intimidation as a management tool. He had a well-honed talent for making others feel small to make himself feel towering. I was in the middle of explaining a nuanced, critical data point, the linchpin of my entire argument, when he let out a loud, theatrical sigh, a sound designed to convey utter boredom and superiority. He dropped his pen on the table with a sharp, dismissive clatter, leaned back in his leather chair, and addressed the acoustic ceiling tiles. "Is there a point to all this theoretical fluff?" he said, his voice dripping with a condescension so thick you could almost taste it. "Or are we just enjoying the sound of our own voice? Some of us have real work to do and can't waste our afternoon on academic daydreams." Oof. Sound familiar? That specific brand of public humiliation. The silence in the room was so deafening you could hear the hum of the server rack in the closet next door. I could feel the eyes of every colleague, every subordinate, every peer, shift from him to me, their gazes heavy with a mixture of pity and morbid curiosity. My face burned with a flush of pure, undiluted anger. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. Every muscle in my body was coiled, tense, ready for a fight. The primal, ancient part of my brain, the amygdala, screamed one single, overpowering command: retaliate. Unleash a torrent of facts, highlight his willful ailments, put him in his place with a perfectly crafted, devastatingly logical rebuttal that would expose him for the fool he was. This is our default, animalistic setting for how to deal with disrespect. It's the fight part of fight or flight, and it's incredibly seductive. But here's the twist: the moment everything changed, the moment I discovered a third option beyond fight or flight. Instead of reacting, I did something that felt almost superhuman in that moment of arcane emotion. I took a pause. I consciously closed my mouth, which had been about to snap open with a heated reply. I looked down at my notes as if consulting them, and I took one single, slow, silent, deliberate breath. It felt like an eternity, but it was probably only 2, maybe 3 seconds. In that sliver of time, I created a container for my rage. And in that sacred, self-created space, a line from the Stoic philosopher Epictetus, a man who knew true powerlessness as a slave and found ultimate freedom in his mind, echoed in my mind: it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This wasn't a magic spell or a mystical voice. It was a tool, a cognitive tool I had been slowly sharpening through study. And in that pause, I wielded the most powerful weapon Stoic philosophy gives us: the dichotomy of control. The Stoic breakdown, forging your 3 shields, a deeper dive. I asked myself the fundamental, life-altering Stoic question: what is truly, 100%, within my control right now, in this exact moment? Let's break it down. David's rude, insulting words. The specific vibrations of sound coming from his mouth. Not in my control. His condescending tone, the arrogant set of his jaw, his pathetic, deeply ingrained need to belittle others to feel a fleeting sense of power. 0%. I had as much control over his deeply flawed character as I did over the weather outside. But my reaction, the next words that would come out of my mouth, the expression on my face, the internal emotional state I chose to cultivate. My self-worth, 100% my kingdom, 100% under my sovereign command. His words were an external event, like a cloud passing in the sky. My mind was the sky itself, vast, unchanging, and capable of holding the cloud without being defined by it. This realization isn't just an intellectual exercise. It's profoundly liberating. It's the moment you stop being a puppet whose strings are jerked by every passing comment. Let's break down exactly how to forge this realization into a daily, practical practice. Shield number 1. The Unbreakable pause, the practice of emotional regulation. That pause I took wasn't a sign of weakness, of being stunned into silence. It was the most powerful and assertive action I could have taken in that moment. It was me declaring to my own hijacked nervous system, I am in command here. Stand down. We will not be reacting from this primitive place. The Stoics called this prosauge, or vigilant attention to your inner state. In modern terms, we call it emotional regulation or the foundational practice of mindfulness. When you feel the hot, sharp spike of disrespect, your first and only job is to not act. to become a mountain, not a leaf in the wind. Breathe. Count to 3 in your mind. Take a deliberate sip of water. Adjust your posture. This simple, disciplined act creates a firewall between the stimulus and your response. It's the absolute bedrock of effective stress management, and the non-negotiable first step in how to deal with disrespect. It stops you from handing your mind, your most precious asset, over to someone else to abuse. This is the essence of energy protection. You are refusing to spend your vital energy on their emotional fire. Shield number 2, the Alchemist's Reframe, the mastery of judgment and perception. Next, you must become an alchemist of your own perceptions. You must consciously change the meaning you assign to the event. The disrespectful comment itself is just a string of syllables, a set of sounds. The pain comes entirely from our judgment, our internal narrative that screams, "This is an unbearable insult to my dignity. My social standing is under attack. I must fight back to restore my honor and prove my worth." The Stoic Reframe is a conscious, deliberate choice to tell yourself a different, more accurate story. You practice this internal dialogue. This person is acting according to their own flawed character, their own ignorance, their own deep-seated insecurity. This behavior is a reflection of their chaotic inner world, not a truthful verdict on mine. Their words are like arrows. They can only wound me if I stand in front of them and willingly hold up my own self-esteem as a target. I choose to step aside. This mental shift is how you actively protect your self-worth. It is the ultimate form of energy protection. You stop wasting your precious life force on mental battles with people who don't operate from a place of reason or good faith. This reframing is the core of building genuine resilience. It's not about being tough. It's about being wise. It's understanding that a damaged character is its own punishment. Shield number 3, the conscious, chosen response, the art of assertive communication. Now, and only now, from this place of calm, reclaimed power, do you even consider your external response? And your options are no longer the binary, lose-lose choice of explode in anger or crumble in silence. You have discovered a third, far more powerful path, the path of conscious, chosen action. I looked back at David, my composure restored because it was now rooted in understanding, not in suppression. My voice, when I spoke, was calm, level and firm. It carried no trace of the sputtering anger he was expecting and, frankly, hoping for. "David," I said, making deliberate eye contact, "the point of this specific data is to ensure we're making a multi-million-dollar decision based on evidence, not gut feeling. I believe it's crucial we understand this foundation. I'd like to continue walking us through it so we can all be aligned on the facts before we proceed." See what happened there? I didn't accept his toxic, drama-filled framing. I didn't get down in the mud to wrestle with a pig. I calmly, clearly, and professionally reasserted the purpose, value, and gravity of my work. This is assertive communication in its purest form. It is a response that comes from a place of unshakable inner strength and respect for the situation, not from fragile, wounded pride. By refusing to play his game, I completely drained the situation of its destructive power. The disrespect didn't vanish, but it became irrelevant, like a sword swinging through the empty air where I used to be standing. The meeting continued, and while the air was still tense, it was now a professional tension, not a personal one. I had dealt with the disrespect not by mirroring it, but by transcending it entirely. This is a powerful form of burnout prevention. You avoid the massive energy drain of post-conflict overthinking and emotional hangovers. The ripple effect, a mini-story of transformation, deeper impact, but the story, my friends, doesn't end in that boardroom. The true power of this philosophy is revealed in its ripple effects. You'll never guess what happened next. Fast forward about a year. I was mentoring a young, brilliantly talented but incredibly shy and introverted employee named Chloe. She was being consistently talked over in meetings, having her ideas casually co-opted by a more aggressive, politically savvy teammate. She was frustrated, demoralized, and felt invisible. The constant, low-grade disrespect was chipping away at her love for her job, and she was on the brink of quitting, a classic path to burnout. She came to me for advice, her voice barely a whisper, and I knew that giving her a scripted comeback would fail. It wouldn't come from a place of authentic power. So, I didn't give her a line to memorize. Instead, I told her the story of David. I walked her through the anatomy of that momentary pause, the reframe, the conscious response. We talked about the dichotomy of control until she internalized it. We even role-played the scenario, not to practice a line, but to practice the feeling of calm power. A week later, she marched into my office, her face beaming with a new kind of light. It wasn't the joy of vengeance, it was the quiet glow of self-respect. It worked, she said, her voice now steady and clear. In a team meeting, when her usual antagonist tried to dismiss her proposal with a wave and we can circle back on that, Chloe didn't shrink. She paused, took a quiet breath, and then said, calmly but with undeniable firmness, I appreciate the desire to keep things moving. To ensure this is executed correctly from the start, given I've already mapped out the initial framework and dependencies, I should lead the next steps. I'll have an update for everyone by Thursday. The teammate was stunned into silence. The manager, who had previously been oblivious to the dynamic, nodded in immediate agreement. Chloe didn't get into a fight. She didn't accuse or blame. She simply stood her ground with a quiet, unassailable dignity. She had protected her self-worth, practiced impeccable boundary setting, and in doing so, completely rewrote the social script of her team. That's the real world, ripple effect of Stoic philosophy. It's not just personal growth. It is about arming the people around you with the tools for their own liberation and creating a culture of respect. This is positive psychology in action, focusing on building what's strong, not just fixing what's broken. The deeper integration, weaving Stoicism into the fabric of your life. This is how Stoic philosophy fundamentally reshapes how you deal with disrespect. It's not a trick. It's a complete operating system for building a life of profound resilience. It turns these moments of friction from personal attacks into gym workouts for your character, opportunities to practice virtue and strengthen your core. To make this second nature, to embed it into your habit formation, you need to create fertile ground for it to grow. This is where concepts like a regular digital detox become a critical, strategic advantage, not a trendy luxury. In a world that is constantly shouting opinions, insults, and social comparisons at you from your pocket, intentional silence is not self-indulgent, it's survival. It's in the quiet, in the space you create away from the digital cacophony, that you can hear the voice of your own reason, your own authenticity, above the noise. This is proactive burnout prevention and the deepest, most responsible form of self-care. It's how you protect your mental clarity and recharge your capacity for emotional regulation. When you practice this consistently, you stop being a weather vane, spinning with every changing social wind. You become the anchor. You engage in confidence building from the inside out, a confidence that is unshakable because it's based on self-mastery, not external achievement. This, in turn, supercharges your productivity and refines your time management, because you are no longer wasting hours or even days on the exhausting, unproductive cycle of overthinking, resentment, and emotional turmoil. You reclaim that time and energy for your true purpose. Conclusion. Your invitation to unshakable ground, a final empowerment. So, the next time you feel that familiar, hot sting of disrespect, and you will, because the world is full of people like David, I want you to remember this. You are not powerless. You are not a victim of someone else's poor character. You have a forge within you to create your own shields, and you now have the blueprint. Remember your 3 Stoic shields, your personal trinity of power. First, the unbreakable pause. Breathe, reclaim the space between stimulus and response. In that space lies your freedom and your power. Second, the Alchemist's Reframe. See the disrespect for what it truly is, the other person's flaw, ignorance, or pain, not your failure. Protect your energy and your soul. Third, the conscious, chosen response. From your inner fortress of calm, choose a response that aligns with your character, your values, and the person you aspire to be, not a reaction that mirrors their chaos. Communicate with assertive grace. This is the true path on how to deal with disrespect. This is how you build an identity that is truly, authentically unshakable. It's not about building a cold, impenetrable wall around yourself. It's about fortifying the core, so that no external storm, no matter how fierce, can ever knock you off your foundation or make you doubt your worth. In the spirit of the Stoics, I wish you not just a day free from conflict, but a spirit that is immune to it. I wish you not just success, but sovereignty. I wish you the quiet, powerful joy that comes from knowing you are the one who commands yourself. Until next time.